call the regular meeting of the Waterworks and Lighting Commission to order for Wednesday, November 12th, 2014. We'll start with the reorganization of officers and committees.
I would like to make a motion that we leave the officers and the committees as they were in the last issue of our Waterworks and Lighting Commission.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, then we'll keep the officers and committees as they were the previous year. Approval, addition.
We should.
Oh,
I'll second that
there's,
motion.
okay, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval, additions, or corrections to the minutes for the regular commission meeting held October 8th.
I move that the minutes be approved as written.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes for last meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have one action item, and that's a request for training. And Matt is here if you have any questions.
So what we have is basically the same thing as last month, except this is for the outage management system as opposed to the GIS mapping and staking solution. We're doing one right after the other, we're doing them back to back. So now they have, came to me and they said this is how much training is going to cost. They gave me the option of doing it here. We'll have our people here and they'll do it over a WebEx or a webinar. As opposed to sending people, and because of the time of year, weather issues, we actually ran into that with this training where the trainer never made it because of this recent snowstorm. He was supposed to be here this week, but Minneapolis got snowed out, so he never was able to fly in. So the total cost, it's not going to be any more than $2,100, and more than likely be less than that.
But you actually did complete the training with
Training's in progress right now.
via WebEx?
Correct.
Okay. And but that's not your intent with this portion of it?
Yeah, well, the training they're doing right now is for the GIS mapping and staking. They're doing that this week. The gentleman was supposed to come on site and do the training here, but he never made it, so we ended up doing a webinar with him. He's in, Lake St. Louis, Missouri, and our people are all at their desks in front of their computers and doing the training that way. So it works well. So, in that case, this training will work well in the same way. So the request is to do it that way again, just with the outage management system as opposed to the GIS mapping and staging.
So it would be done via WebEx?
Correct.
Okay. I move that we approve this training.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the request for training. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Report on the safety committee.
On the safety front, MEW has hired somebody to take the place of our last training or coordinator. They start the 17th, I think, of November. So they'll be here shortly after that, I'm assuming. So.
Okay, good.
On the safety, Todd, you have your about the checklist for procedures as the bucket truck, digger, derrick, line trucks. And is that like when you set up, that you have to go through a certain procedure before?
Actually, Chad, our maintenance person, he went to some different training sessions, and he saw that other companies were going through like a checklist, a weekly checklist of trucks, and so he and I worked together. We came up with these forms, and so now every Monday morning our line crew goes through every vehicle that they're using for that week, and then goes through his checklist to make sure everything's okay before leaving the shop. So it says simple as checking the oil and checking that all the lights are working to more complicated, is everything on the, all the equipment on the truck, things like that.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I also noticed in either the MAUW publication or something else about crane operator certification. Does that apply to us?
we got a new derrick digger last year, and so what we were thinking of doing actually is having the company that we purchased this from come and do some training for our guys. I don't know that we fall into that, but
Yeah.
we thought it would be beneficial to have it.
Yeah, I didn't know if we fell into it either, but.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments for the safety committee? Line superintendent report.
These relighting, relamping, do these get converted to the LEDs then at this point, or are these same for same?
Same for same at this point. We are, just got done, and I have it in, as part of the packet this week, our new LED products that we're gonna start purchasing. But for now, we still have all of the old stock in stores, and so until we run out of that, we will be still changing out a one-for-one type thing.
And that would be like with the high pressure sodium, if you just keep until it all, your stock runs out, and you're gonna consider going to the LED lights.
Correct.
If it's a new street light, then it will be an LED.
Yeah.
So these would, you'll continue with these with the old style lighting head?
Well, until we run out of stock, and then we'll convert them to LED, but if it's a new installation,
It'll be LED.
Correct.
Day one.
yeah, but not lamp replacement. And we did, as part of this rate case, which is finally coming to fruition with the hearing tomorrow, we have prices for those lamps and everything going forward, so we're good to go. Before, we didn't even have pricing from the PSC on our LED lights yet.
Any other questions or comments? The water department report.
What were the, somewhere I saw water quality complaints, 2 customer concerns on water quality. What were the issues there?
A lot of times, I think you should check the ones that have a low flow. I think we can actually check their aerators are plugged and so forth. I think another one was a funny smell, and at PM when you turn the water on, they get a whiff of smell. It actually comes from their drain. Water comes in, the air comes out, they get a smell. So that's typically the kind of things you get when you have water quality issues.
But it was nothing to do with water quality, really.
Right, but it's just want to make sure our bases are covered.
Any other questions or comments? Office manager report.
Not here to take a bow, is
Well, they did a good job on the collections.
it still continues to be very positive.
Any other comments or question? Mike?
I back him up, say he should take a bow.
Thank you. We'll make note to compliment Joe on his
do
work
that.
with his department. Director of Finance report.
NISC document vault. Exactly how does that affect everybody, and how does it affect you? And I take it that was always there.
We budgeted it last year in our capital budget. It's just a module we haven't implemented until now, so it's just an online imaging solution. So an example, when we pay an accounts payable invoice, we can scan and attach a copy of that invoice to the screen on the NISC software, so when somebody looks at that, they can click a button and see the source document.
Well, so you're just gonna find, the paper is negligible, you'll find everything you need on your screen.
Right, and so then workflows will be a lot easier, so we're not handing out paper multiple times. It can all be seen on the screen by the person that needs to see it.
And we'll be scanning our older contracts and new contracts as we get them and everything else, and keep those in there as well, so.
Yeah.
So this rate case for the fixed charge is actually better than we had anticipated?
It is, we originally, we're sitting at 7, the PSC authorized us to 770, and that's why we kind of put a pause on the whole process until after PubServe went last week, and we requested either 9 or 950, thinking we'd get to lower the amounts, and they actually did give us 950 for the plan.
So 950?
950 is where we're sitting right now, so.
In our last meeting, I know we talked about the investor-owned utilities, we're going after a rate increase, and does that affect us at all?
As far as what we pay for power?
Yeah,
Not for wholesale rates, that's a
that was
FERC
just all
filed wholesale rate, yeah.
residential?
Yeah, they have a formula for their wholesale rates that they have to file at FERC, so it's
I
totally
see.
different than that.
And I know
But
you
it-
said they were gonna look at them first before we.
Right, and what did they jump to?
They jumped from 1040 for a single phase residential customer up to 19. So it did help us that way, as they kind of paved the way for us to get a
For your
slightly higher
rate
fixed
case.
charge. Right.
Okay.
And other than that, it's just when they're in a rate case, then typically our residential customers will see a bigger difference than what it already is. I mean, we already have lower rates of service and Alliant, but typically if they're in a rate case, then that difference gets better in favor of our customer.
Any other questions or comments? Information systems report.
Last meeting, I know you talked about, I don't know if it was the stocking software or the outage management was gonna be available, I think tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's the staking software, the MapWise is what it's called. That's what NISC calls it, is MapWise. And that's what they're training on today.
Okay.
Todd and I sat, and Moses sat in on the training this morning. Moses had training yesterday as well. So,
Okay.
Pretty nifty.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with it. I zoomed into my house and found out what substation feeder I was off of and all that.
Any other questions or comments for Matt? Conservation manager report.
Can you elaborate just a little bit on what's happening at this marsh? You talk about boring, what are you doing there?
What we're specifically doing there is we're primary metering the marsh. They have a lot of pre-existing meters that can be specifically placed to one meter. The infrastructure of the marsh is relatively, it's old. We acquired it a few years back. And in doing this primary metering project, we'll be able to give them greater dependability or reliability. If they ever were to lose power, we can feed them with the new project that we have coming off of East Baron Drive. We'll be able to close one end, open up the other, and they'll be without, they'll have power that way. It'll essentially save the marsh. Operating costs will be a lot better for the marsh.
It's combining all their consumption onto one meter, so they're gonna get a better rate and reduce their costs. And then we're cleaning up all the facilities out there, making them improved and newer. We inherited all that from Quepco, so.
Yeah, it coincides with our voltage conversion right now, so half of the marsh was fed off of Highway 54, the other half off of East Baron Drive, while the East Baron Drive had the 4160, which we're eliminating. So now everything will be fed off of Highway 54 and it'll be the new 13.2 kV standard that we have.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments for Sean? Okay, Director of Engineering and Electric Operations report.
Would you do a little further explanation into your standardized fuse?
Yeah, what we've been doing to help with reliability, and we had some of the system already was this way where we, let's say you have a street that has maybe 6 or 7 homes on it or more. What we'll do is we'll fuse out at the street that entire, alley of homes. Well, in the past, what we used to do is, okay, we'd add up the transformers on that line and then we would just say, okay, that's about what our max load can be, let's put a fuse in that's a little higher than that. Now what we're doing is we're adding a lot more of these, we call them sectionalizers, so that instead of, a whole network of homes going down, we're just gonna have what's ever down that street or what have you. But we're standardizing on one fuse size for the majority of them. So now we don't have a 10 amp fuse here and a 20 amp fuse here. And so I did this study, we have software for it, and Moses has been working with me on it as well. But you have to coordinate from the substation level down and all through the reclosers and other fuses, and you gotta pick something that's a little bit higher than anything that's in the, by the homes, but something that's lower than anything that's out existing on the lines. And so what it looks like is a type KS fuse, which is a slower blowing fuse, 20 amps would work for most applications. So that's what we're gonna go to.
Todd, as I looked at this, are you doing anything for the sensors that turn these lights on and off?
Right now, for the majority of your circuits, which are down your main highways or what have you, you have what's a lighting panel controller that's doing all the control, and that is feeding both what we call the festoon lighting, which are the outlets on the poles, and then the lights themselves. The lights themselves, they have a selection where you can either turn them on all the time, turn them off all the time, or have a photo eye, turn them on and off. And that typically gets left in the photo eye location. On the festoon, it's turn it on all the time, turn it off all the time, or put it on a timer. And that's a lot of times you have your Christmas decorations that are on that. At this point, that's the control that we have. Now, there are manufacturers, LED manufacturers, which have features, and I haven't planned on putting any of these in, where you can actually dim the LEDs as your day or as your night goes on. So let's say you got your most activity is on the highway from say 6 at night to 11 at night, you keep them at 100%, and then at 11 at night you can start dimming them back and saving energy. I didn't go that route just because of the the cost of it, and right now it's just what I described, on off photo eye type control.
Okay.
Plus street lighting's all off-peak, doesn't add to our demand, and it's all off-peak wholesale energy, so it's cheap.
Have you decided what kind of poles you're gonna put in for the?
Marathon actually makes a pretty nice fiberglass pole. We've been buying a lot of the ones we have from them already. From what I've talked to pole manufacturers, they recommend going with a base rather a direct buried, just because in the future, as the project goes forward, if it's direct buried, you might have one that starts tilting at some point in time. So to get all the heights right and for them all to stay straight, they recommend a concrete
Pouring the
base.
concrete and then putting it on the
Yeah.
poles. Are the bases gonna be breakaways or?
They're fiberglass, so they will break away.
Okay,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Todd?
One more.
Okay.
And it's more for me than a, I notice in different areas in the specs, it calls for a weld, type of a weld. Is that like a CAD weld?
Yeah, it's basically that you want a connection that isn't gonna get affected by the moisture or what have you
Right.
in the ground. And so, I forgot exactly which weld I kind of spec'd out, but
It's in here, yeah.
yeah.
But the thing of it is, see, I thought there for a while that you were going mostly to all compression.
Right, and that's pretty much a lot of it is that way. I think there's some cases where you got the ground or something that we're welding like that.
Although what the weld is in, is for the box, the big box,
Okay,
when you put your ground grid in.
okay,
Curiosity.
okay.
Any other questions or comments for Todd? General manager report.
Really the biggest thing, Jim, is the, you know, again, in live wire, I want the carbon constraints in the future. That, I think MISO said it's gonna cost 90 billion, and Alan Nowak said, Novak, I'm calling him, she, that's probably the same name as me. It was like tens of billions for our state. And what is going on?
It's still in the comment period. I mean, people are commenting on the draft EPA carbon dioxide rules, so, and they've extended that by a few months. All the comments were due the end of the beginning of December, and I think they pushed that off to spring. Then when they get all the comments on the report, then the EPA will take it and either revise them, but yeah, I mean, it's 30% down to, they want to reduce carbon dioxide 30% down to 2005 levels, but they're not giving, we call it credit for early adoption. A bunch of utilities in the country have already started switching their generation from coal to natural gas, and they've started doing much more energy efficiency and getting more renewables in their portfolio, kind of like Blue has. And the way they talked about implementing the carbon dioxide rules in the future, that you were going to be at least given credit for those early adoptions to help the situation, because in essence, the last 5 years, utilities have reduced their carbon footprint by 15% already, just by all the fracking going on with natural gas and switching from coal to natural gas and those things. But yeah, I mean, the MISO's number, they're going to propose some type of MISO grid approach to meeting if these regulations come to fruition, which some say they will and some say they won't. I mean, everybody's thought it would be more of a Congress bipartisan approach to these legislations and not an executive branch order, and that's kind of how it's coming down now. So there's a lot to play out in this yet. I think even once the EPA does adopt their final rules, whatever that turns out to be, I think they're going to get sued by a number of people. So I think this is going to play out for a while before we know the full ramifications of the regulation. But if it goes through as stands, then, you know, the MISO numbers and whatever, I've heard 30 to 40 bucks a megawatt hour increase. That's like more than it's costing to buy it now. So it's not a pretty sight for consumers if it ends up going through in its present form.
Thanks, Jim.
Is there something that should be done to get more communication on those actual numbers in front of the public? You know, I see these publications that you share with us,
Right.
but that's like
Yeah,
a fraction of
right.
1/10% of the population.
Correct. I mean, I agree. I think utilities are doing it in their own form or fashion, but it makes sense. I could do a report on it in currents and waves the next time and let our customers know what full impacts could potentially be. That's a good idea, John.
Yeah, I think it would be good. It would be also
Yeah,
good
I mean,
if we can get Gannett to publish some of these numbers so that people understand
Yeah.
that this is a major, major impact.
Right. I mean, the Wall Street Journal covers it quite extensively, but not much local newspapers picked it up. It's not their type of stuff, but we can try.
Yeah, but how many Wall Street
That I don't
Wisconsin
know.
Rapids?
I might be one of the few that
Yeah, you know,
Come to barber shops.
one of the things in the Wall Street Journal often is Germany, how they really dove into taking care of the carbon footprint in their,
upside down, aren't they?
and, yeah, and then, and of course with the renewable resources, but their electric bills are 3 times more than the average bill in the United States.
Correct.
So,
With all the work that we're doing for Buren, will this latest move of Aspirus slow any of that down or have any effect at all on
I
it?
don't think it's gonna affect their business park that they just put in. It's gonna affect the Spirus expansion. If they expand, it's not gonna be near the size that they were originally anticipating here out on the expressway, but I don't see it impacting the business park. I mean, they're still trying to get tenants in there. I mean, Aspirus was one potential one that they were working with, but I don't see it impacting them long term, no.
Speaking of getting it out in front of the public, I'd like to congratulate the 3 people that won our poster contest. And I understand that one of them has a dad that's very proud too. I won't mention names.
Yeah, that's a pretty popular contest we have, and I thank Sean for both coordinating that activity as part of Public Power Week and the whole week, so I think it came off as a success. We had a lot of customers in and out of our shop that day, so.
Any other questions or comments for Jim? In the accounts payable?
I found that it was interesting to have healthcare, benefits, and road base all in one line.
I said about cups.
It must have been a bill to the city. That
Yeah, it was.
Is that
Interesting.
what happens, Jeff, then, when you have several different line items going to one?
Right, typically we'll get one invoice from the city, and it'll be all the monthly charges, which will include anything and everything that we get billed from by the city.
Can't find it now. Maintenance of URD services. That was up, was there problems there or?
No, that was probably related to the marsh where we were putting underground in, I'm thinking. That's.
What
I don't know if
page
you
is that
remember.
on?
I wish you could.
Yeah, or it could be, yeah, we did some industrial park work too, so it could be a charge from that.
Okay. It was in parentheses and it was 1,770 something.
What page is that on, Mike?
That's why I said if I had a piece of paper that had the numbers on it.
The one
Tap
thing,
your screen, it'll tell you what page you're on.
if you're looking at the financial statements, the maintenance of underground numbers are so low that, I mean, if you compare last year to this year, we're talking about, 27,000 versus 34,000, so it's not a huge increase, dollar-wise.
Well, I was concerned whether there was a decrease.
Oh,
It was in parentheses. That doesn't always mean decrease or increase.
that's just the line you're looking at, well, it's the operating income expense for the electric utility. The 1772 is what's left of the budget.
Yeah, I think that, yes.
So, but the total budgets, we're looking at, well, we overspent the budget, so the budget was $4,700 and we were at 6,400, so.
And being over would have been because of that extra job there, okay. I'll get better at this, John. I'm sure that Matt can find me a more expensive pen.
I don't know about that, that one's pretty pricey.
It's got a laser on it, yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yep, I make,
Okay.
Second.
Okay. There's been a motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.